Welcome to Reversible YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful reversible bucket art. So it is reversible, you can rock it both in and out. This is it on the jean fabric, and I'm going to turn it to the other fabric now, and you can see that you can still rock it anyhow you want. So it's very simple to make, and you're going to enjoy this video. If this is what you want to watch, kindly stay tuned and watch till the end. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and click on the notification bell to get notified anytime I upload a new video. Hello and welcome back to Reversible YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make a bucket hat. Okay, so bucket hat has three parts: the top part, the middle part, and the brim. Okay, so the difference between this and the sun hat that we did is that the brim is usually bigger than that of the sun hat, and we will be creating this using the slash and spread method because the flare is not so big. So the first thing you need to do is to measure around your head. For this tutorial, I'm using a round head measurement of 22 inches, and I'll divide that by 6.2h, which is going to give me 3.5. So 3.5 will be my radius for this tutorial, and I'll be folding my pattern into 4 to get the top part using my 3.5 inches measurement. Okay, so the pattern is folded into 4. Remember, 3.5 inches is our actual measurement, and I'll be adding ½ inch allowance for sewing, so that makes it a total of 4 inches, and I'll be measuring my 4 inches round like this. So this is for the top part. So I'm cutting this out now. And this is what I have as the top: 3.5 inch with 0.5 inch allowance to make it 4 inches. So now the next thing I need to measure is to measure around this top for the middle part. Remember, the middle part, the upper part, I'll be sewing around the top. So I need to know the measurement. So I'm going to be folding it into 2 like this, since I'll be cutting that to unfold, and I'll measure around what I have. So taking my tape round, so when I measured round, I got almost 11 inches and this last stroke to get to 12. Okay, so remember, if it's going to be the full top, that's going to be multiplied by 2 because I measured on fold like this. So now on my fresh pattern, to create my middle point, what I got there, I'm going to measure it. Yeah, okay, so I've measured this now, and the length of this is going to be 3 inches. So I'll be measuring 3 inches to form a rectangle, and I'll make it into a straight line. So that's 3 inches by 11.75 and a bar. So what I showed you, almost 12. So you just need to use what you got from your measurement. Okay, so I'll cut this out now. This is our middle part. Okay, so now I have this. Now that I have this, I need to divide. Remember, I said we could be getting this using slash and spread method. So I need to divide this into 4. You can either measure to divide into 4, but I'm just going to be folding my paper into 4 to give me crease lines, which will be an indication of my division. So this line that I formed is going to be my slash lines. This is what I'm going to be slashing to spread. So I folded it now. Once I open it, you can see that my lines are obvious. I'm just going to make it more obvious by ruling it with a marker so that we can see it well. So this is the first one, the second one, the third box, and the last box. So now the next thing for me is to slash this. So I'm going to slash it but not cut it through entirely. I'm just going to be leaving a tip there for me to spread it. So I'm slashing this now. Just pay attention to it. It's very simple to make. So after slashing the 3 lines, now I'm going to grab a fresh paper and place this on it and then spread. So now I have my fresh pattern, and then I'm going to spread it, then I'll hold it with a masking tape. So this is going to be my first point. I don't want to waste this paper, so I'm placing it at the tip here. Okay, and I'm holding it with a masking tape. So the amount that you want to use to spread it depends entirely on you, but it shouldn't be too wide, because you remember this is the middle part of the hat. So for me, I'm just using this first line of my tape rule. I hope you can see this. Remember, the tape is divided into 8. So this first line that you are seeing is what I'll be using to spread it, just the little of that. So I'll be spreading it with that and then hold it with a masking tape. I'm doing this spreading because remember, we just did a rectangle for the middle part and the head is round, not straight. So that is why I'm creating some kind of curve, so that it won't just be straight like that when I place it on my head. So I'll be using that measurement, that 1/8 of a tape rule, to spread my slash lines, and I'm holding it with a masking tape. So I've done that for the first one. I'm going over to the second one and I'll do it all through. Okay, so I've slashed everything now, and you can see it will just increase by a bit, just like 1/2 inch from the top part. Remember, this is the topmost part, and this is what I'll be adding to this part, is what I'll be sewing to my top, to the top of my hat, and this lower part is what I'll be sewing to the brim. So the difference between this and this is just around 1/2 inch, because if you check your tape rule, you remember that I spread this in 3 places, 1 2 3. So if you count it now, we have 1 2 3. So I just increased this by 1/2 inch from what I have on my topmost part. Now I'm just going to add my seam allowance here to join to the top, and my seam allowance down here to join to the brim also, and then I'll cut it out. So my seam allowance are added now, and I've cut it out. So this is my middle part. Remember, I said this part that I used in measuring, the part that is not spread, is what I'll be attaching to my top. So now to get my brim, I need to measure what is on the hemline that I'm going to be attaching to my brim, and I'll just take my tape measure and measure this round. Now I have around 12.5 inches. Okay, it is this 12.5 inches measurement that I'm going to be using to cut my brim. But before I forget, remember I said this side will be cut on fold, so I'll just indicate it like this, that you should cut this side on fold when you're cutting. So now I'm going to set these two aside and then work on the top part. The 12.5 measurements that I have, just like I did for my middle part, I'll be measuring it here, and the length will depend on how wide you want your brim to be. So for me, I think the 3 inches that I used is still okay, so I'll be maintaining that, which means I'll be measuring 12.5 by 3 inches. So now I've measured 12.5 by 3 inches, so I'll be cutting this out. Now that I've cut it out, the same way I did slash and spread for the middle part, I'll be repeating it for this also. But in this case, I will not be having 4 lines. I'll fold it so that I can get 8 lines, because I want more flare. Remember, this is the brim part, so I'm folding it into 2. I'll fold it to get 4, and then I'm going to fold it again to get 8 lines. Okay, and then I'm going to match it so that my lines will be visible for me. Okay, so now that I open it, I can see my 8 lines. I'm just going to go ahead to mark it with a marker so that everybody can see it. The next thing is for me to slash these lines open. Remember to just cut through, but not completely. Okay, so I'll be slashing the 8 lines and I'll be spreading it on a fresh paper. Okay, so I'll start spreading this now, and I'll be spreading it on 1/4. Remember, I used the first one in the case of my middle part, so in this case I'll be using the quarter, which is the second stroke of the tape measure. Okay, okay, now so I've spread this by half inch, and I added my seam allowance both on top of it and under it, and then I'm going to be indicating here that I'll be cutting on fold. So now we are done with our 3 patterns. This is the top part, This is the middle part. We're attaching this side to the top part, and this is the brim part. Okay, now I'm going to be transferring this to my fabric. I'll cut this on fabric now and bring it back to show us. Okay, so I've cut it on my fabric and it's going to be reversible. That's why I'm using this jean fabric and this Burberry fabric. Okay, so you can see this is the top part. I used my pattern for it. This is the middle part and this is the brim. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is to sew my top part to my brim. And to do this, I'm going to, remember I said I'm going to be cutting it on fold. So you can see this side, I folded it into two before I place my pattern to give me one long one like this. If you don't have enough fabric, you can cut it twice and then sew it. You just need to add your seam allowance to this place so that you don't have any shortage by the time you finish sewing. So now the smaller part, which is the hub part here, I'll be joining it here and then I'll sew it to the top of my fabric. Okay, now I've sewn it together and this is the upper part, the one that I'm going to sew to the top. So now to make it easier for me, I'll be notching it in 4 places, and I'll also be notching the top part also so that I can match them together and then pin. So I'm going to close this up also and then notch it. So after notching it, I'm going to match my notch points and then take it to the sewing machine and stitch. So I have this now. I'll look for the right side and then match them against each other and then pin it round. So now I've pinned this, I'm just going to take it to the sewing machine and sew it round. Now I've sewn it round, you can see how it's standing. Okay, the next part is the brim part, and to start with, I've joined the brim also so that I can have one full brim. Now the way I notched the other part, I'm going to notch it into 4 and then I'm going to match it to this and sew. Okay, so I've matched this together, the 4 points. Now I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and just sew it round. Now I've sewn it round like this, and this is what the art is looking like. Okay, so this fabric I'm using is actually very soft. If you have interface, you can add to it so that it will make it stand better. Okay, so what I've done here now, I'm going to repeat it for the other fabric also. So now I'm done sewing the 2 caps. You can see how it's looking, but it was looking so soft and I don't like the effect. So but I've sewn it, so adding interface was very difficult because I didn't know I have these pieces interface at home. So I just tried my best to find a way around it. So I was able to add interface to the brim part and the top part. I couldn't add to the middle part again because it was very difficult. So I just added interface to this brim part and the top part, and I did the same for this fabric also because it's like crepe and very soft and stretchy, so the cap was not standing well. So now that I've done this, the next thing, but if you have strong fabric like all these strong polish fabric or very strong jean, you don't need to add interface to it. Now that I've done this, the next thing I'm going to do now is to put this right side facing right side, and then I'm going to sew it round. Remember I said it's going to be reversible, so I don't want any rough edges showing. I'm just going to try to tuck this in, and I'm going to match remember the sewing part, and you can also notch it into 4. I'm going to match them together, pin them, then take it to the sewing machine and sew. So when I'm sewing, I'll make sure that I leave like 2 inches for me to be able to turn it out, okay, before I finally close it. So just pin it round and sew. So now I've sewn it round and I left this 2 inches space here to turn it out. So I'm just going to notch it and then turn it. So I'm turning it out now, and this is what I have. Okay, so I've turned it out now and I've ironed the tip a bit just to show us. So this is you can see it's already folding. This is the part that I used in turning it. So I'll start top stitching it round like this on my machine round, just to give it that bucket hat effect. And like I said, it's going to be reversible. So this is one side. Let me put it on the mannequin so that we can see. Okay, so this is the Burberry part. I can see how beautiful it is, and the stay that I added just helped it to stand because the fabric was very soft. So I'm going to be top stitching around, but I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll do that off camera. Now I'm going to turn it to the jean side so that we can see what it's looking like. Okay, so this is the jean part. And you can see how beautiful it is, and it is neatly finished both inside and out. So that made it reversible. You can just rock it anyhow you want. I can lift this up to give it another effect. So it's very simple to make. Give this a try, give this video a thumbs up, watch her videos, kindly subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and click on the notification bell so that I get notified anytime we upload new videos. We appreciate all your support, we see your comments, and we say thank you. See you in the next one. Bye.